Alright, we're going to do a quick function and safety check on the Taurus PT99 or PT92 pistol. Anytime you reassemble your pistol after cleaning, you want to run through some quick checks, just basic checks to make sure the pistol is functioning properly before you go out to shoot or before you carry it. So one of the first things you want to do is check the magazine release. So as usual, before we do anything, we want to make sure the gun is unloaded. No magazine and no round is in the chamber. Alright, we want to close the slide, take an empty magazine, and you're going to want to do this for every magazine that you have for this pistol, just to make sure. So the first thing we want to do is just put a magazine in, make sure you cannot pull it out, and make sure that when you press the magazine release, it drops free on its own. It's a very simple test. The next test we want to do is to make sure that the slide will lock back on an empty magazine. So take an empty magazine, put it in the pistol, wrap the slide. It should lock back automatically, as it did, because the magazine is empty. Alright, the next check we're going to do is the trigger check and the trigger reset check. Naturally, anytime we're going to press the trigger, you want to verify the gun is empty, the gun has no magazine and no round in the chamber. Alright, close the slide. The gun is now cocked and ready to fire. The safety is off. Point the gun in a safe direction, press the trigger, and make sure that the hammer falls. And it did. Alright, so now we're going to check the trigger reset. So this time we're going to press the trigger and we're going to hold it back. So point the gun in a safe direction, press the trigger, hold it back, rack the slide, simulating firing the gun, and then release the trigger until you hear the reset, which is the click right there, and press it again, and the hammer should fall. Alright, it passes that test. Next we're going to check the manual safety. So rack the slide to cock the hammer, put the safety in the safe position, and press the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Now release the safety, point the gun in a safe direction, press the trigger, and the hammer should fall. Alright, this is an older version of this gun. Most of the newer versions have a decocker lever, which is this lever, but it also has an additional position which is down lower. And by pressing that lever, it will decock the gun if the hammer is back. So if you have that extra lever, which you probably do, rack the slide so the hammer is in the rear position, push that decocker down, and when you do that, the hammer should fall, but it's not going to fire the gun because it's just decocking the hammer, and then you can put the gun on safe after that, and that should work that way. And again, with the hammer down and the manual safety on safe, if you press the trigger, the hammer should not fall. It's going to go back like that on this particular gun, but nothing more is going to happen than that. And then with the safety off, pointed in a safe direction, the hammer goes back and then forward in double action mode. Alright, the last test I will do is an extraction and ejection test. And for that, you're just going to need some dummy rounds. These are 9mm A-Zoom dummy rounds. I'll put links in the description if you want to pick some of these up. Kind of an optional test, but to me, it really helps me know that my gun is going to be feeding rounds properly, extracting and ejecting them properly while I'm shooting. So I like to do this test each time I reassemble a firearm. So I just will load 5 dummy rounds into a magazine, verify that my firearm is unloaded and there's no live ammo around. Then I'll just insert the magazine into the gun, load a dummy round into the chamber, and all I'm going to do here is simulate firing the gun 5 times by racking the slide briskly to the rear. And each time I rack the slide, one of the dummy rounds should be extracted and ejected from the gun over to the right here. And on the 5th time, when the gun is empty, the slide should lock back on the empty magazine. So that test simply looks like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, and the slide locked back on an empty magazine. Alright, that tells me that it's going to extract and eject properly when I go to shoot, and I am good to go. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below. Thanks for watching, and please check out the description. There's links down there to dummy rounds and some other interesting items. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.